Welcome, everyone, to the New York City Bluebeam user. For those of you that this is your first time, can you please raise your hand? First time to a New York City Bluebeam user. Fantastic. So I'm going to go through the agenda, kind of how we're going to go through today, and I also will explain about what exactly a Bluebeam user is. So I'm going to welcome you. Welcome. My name is Carrie Ann Nohilly. I am the account development manager for Bluebeam for New York City specifically. So I started the Bluebeam user group in May of 2016. So it's been about a year. Give you a little bit of our history. Okay. So I'm going to cover what is a bug. I'm then going to talk about just to completely jump right over tonight. Because I do think that this conversation we're going to get all wrapped up in it. So I'm actually going to do some of the announcements at the beginning rather than the end. So I'm going to talk about the 2018 Q1 bug. Then I'm going to talk about the 2018 beta, so what you can be seeing from Bluebeam in 2018. Then we'll have Tim, our guest star for tonight, who's going to be talking about quantity takeoff, which you're all here to see. And then at the end, we will close, and hopefully you'll cooperate, and we can do a group picture. Eternally grateful. So, what is a bug? For those of you that have been here, I think I've got a few people in the room that have been here for every single bug that we have had. And let me just go through the list of our NYC bugs, and you can see what we've had so far. So a bug stands for a Bluebeam user group. We have them in cities all around the United States. I believe the first one started maybe in Minneapolis or New Orleans. But the idea is peer sharing. So if I can have, how many architects are in the room? Okay. Okay, so hopefully we got to address that problem. Engineers in the room? Okay, great. And then contractors, construction. Cost consultants, got a group back there. Anybody from any owners? And then I've got an interiors firm, Meadows, kind of my Meadows people. So based on the representation of this, you're seeing a cross-section of the types of different users that use Bluebeam's products, Review and Studio. So what these user groups are intended to do is to be topic specific. Tonight we're covering quantity takeoff. The idea is to be able to show you best practices for you to hear actually from customers and also get a little bit more information about what you're going to see coming up from Bluebeam. So that's the idea. This is our timeline of what we've had so far for the different user groups. In July of 2017, Ethan from Meadows presented on how they're doing Studio and Punch, which is actually going to segue a little bit into what we're going to do in January in 2018. So I'm going to jump forward and talk about what's going to be coming up in January for our Q1 bug. And the Q1 bug for January is going to be focused on Studio Prime. Can I get a show of hands who has even heard of what Studio Prime is? Okay, and that's fair. So I'm going to explain just a tiny bit about what Studio Prime is. The event is going to be, the Q1 bug is going to be on January 17th at Meadows' office. Of course, you'll be getting email information on that, but just so you kind of have a little bit of an idea. So here's the story with Bluebeam. You open what you call Bluebeam every day on your computer, and that's what we actually call is Review. Review is the desktop application that you open. With inside of Review, you may or may not have used this thing called Studio. Studio users in the house, you're familiar with using Studio. Studio essentially allows you to create sessions, which allow you to do multi-party PDF markup, or a Studio project, which allows you to have essentially a filing cabinet with different types of files. Where Studio Prime comes into this, Studio Prime is kind of the umbrella around these things, and Studio Prime is the beginning of what we're kind of have as our enterprise platform for larger companies and for companies that are trying to use Studio in conjunction with other applications. Meadows showed us how they use Studio, and they actually use the Studio API to integrate with our custom-build application. Studio also gives you the ability to do user management across all of your Studio projects and sessions, to run analytics, and then also, this is maybe more applicable for the architects and engineers in the room, but to do something called folder automation. What folder automations is, simplest example, you receive a DWG file, you don't have AutoCAD on your computer, you upload it to a folder in a studio project, you create a rule like you would in Microsoft Outlook, and that DWG file can automatically be converted into a PDF. So the contractors in the room may not really give a shit about this, but for architects and engineers that are doing this often, where they're actually doing a lot of conversion from DWG into PDF, they care. So this is just a tiny little snippet. I realize that for some of you in the room, you're like, this, I don't know, like that's cute, but like that doesn't really apply to me. The idea for this is a piece, there's a component of this which is related to risk management. And the idea is essentially that you're going to be using, if you're using Studio all the time to manage your sessions and projects, from a risk management angle, you should have insight into what the hell's going on inside your Studio ecosystem. And that's where Studio Prime comes in. So maybe not for you, but something that you maybe should maybe you should tell IT about. Okay? So with that, something that you guys might care a little bit more about, and that's 2018 and what is coming, and what I wanted to tell you a little bit about what's coming in 2018 with regard to Bluebeam. So, for those of you that were at the Extreme Conference, I think we have about 5 people or so in the room. During the keynote presentation, Bluebeam for the first time unveiled, that doesn't sound right, what they're planning to do in the future. And there was 2 pieces that they unveiled during that. And the first was Review 2018. And it's going to be a new UI, which is like what software people call for user interface. So when you open your review application, it's going to look better. We hope better. I mean, right now, I think especially if you're involved at all in training or onboarding of new people, like it's intense. It's really intense. And there's so many buttons. It's like you're walking onto an airplane and you look to your left and you're looking into the cockpit. And you're like, how do you, it's a lot. So what they're working on right now, what product management is working on, is a whole redesign to the interface so that it's going to be more user-friendly. The other piece to that is what we're calling Studio Drawings. And a lot of the transactions that you're doing to auto-mark your drawings and to hyperlink your drawings and to revision your drawings, we're going to help you with that and do that automatically. And that's where Studio Drawings comes in. So, no, that's not available tomorrow or next week, but that is coming in 2018. So what I invite for you, because you showed up tonight, so you obviously must care to an extent about what Bluebeam and these tools, and you must like them. So I would encourage you to be a part of the beta. And again, maybe it's not you specifically, but maybe someone within your firm get involved with the beta and sign up to test these and to give your feedback. Any questions on that? Yeah. I think this is good. Like, objectively, I've sat on the other side of this. I used to work for a GC, so I do have a bit, like, I am skeptical, and then I think after 4 years in New York, I've become even more skeptical. I'm like, ugh, how are you screwing me? I think that this is good. I mean, listen, we've got some downfalls. We've got things in the product that should be better, like, for sure. But I think the new interface, like while it's changed and a little bit jarring, I think this is going to be a good thing, and this is something that we've been waiting for a long time. So, yeah.
Is there a release date or a release month?
No, for neither. Typically, we launch the new product in the end of Q1, early Q2, and I think that's around. And I'm saying that in all honesty, like I actually don't know. Studio Drawings is going to be later in the year. But I really would suggest, like, if you can, to get involved in this, and especially if you've got jobs that are in a position to try out, especially Studio Drawings, to just sign up and be involved in that.
The beta of now.
So you can sign up now, but it's not actually been released yet.
A couple things to keep in mind with the beta. Hi,
yes,
Blake.
Please.
Blake, carry on. One thing with the beta, it's really nice because you won't have to uninstall 2016 or 2017, so you can still work in review that you're used to. You can side-by-side install them so that you can test out the 2018 application, which is really handy for you, IT, everybody involved. And we really encourage you to do it because that's how we're trying to judge feedback. So we're alpha testing it internally. When we send it out to beta, we hope that it's to a place where people can give us real-world experience, because the guys who who create this don't necessarily work in the field every day, so, or haven't in the past, so we really want your feedback. That's all I have.
Yeah. So Blake is one of our account managers. He's located up in New Hampshire, so he actually works with a lot of the people that are in this room. So that's the story with this. So with that, I'm going to get to the main part of the show today, and that's Tim. And Tim works for Skanska. While we're sitting in their beautiful building, you can see the casual Manhattan skyline in the background. Tim is an estimator with Skanska Civil. So just a little bit of a background on Tim, and we can kind of all read this. I'm not going to read the whole way through, but where I think that you're going to get a lot of value out of Tim today is because he is using review specifically for takeoff. So I think there's like the cost consultants in the room. They're trying to use this tool more for takeoff. Perhaps you're a smaller construction company and you're trying to do a lot more with like a few amount of tools. Perhaps you're doing this with change management. Like you're going to need to be doing takeoffs at some point in the process. And so Tim has a lot of experience with this, a lot more than I do. So please, he's going to go through his presentation. If you've got like dire questions throughout, please ask them. And then I think we'll have a really good session at the end where you can get a lot of how do I actually apply this, kind of this questions from Tim. So with that, please take it away. And I think we'll just change the input so it's yours. And then if you could just share your screen on Blue Jeans. For the first time, we are actually recording this. I'm attempting to record this, so hopefully I can give you a link of this afterwards. So. But that doesn't mean you don't come next time. Like you can just like do it. Like those who want the food, those pizza. And then there's a sign-in sheet going around.
She has to go on that wall. All right, so dynamic fill I don't really use, but actually before I even continue doing this, I actually skipped forward instead of just showing you guys actually everything that I've done in a few projects first, and then I'll come back to these tips because, yeah, as I told a few of you guys, I could probably go to, like, till tomorrow, so I'll pause now.
Are you working, so you have all these files stored in Studio to use in a project? Or are you working on these with other, like, where are you storing all of your files?
For this example.
Context for how you're using it.
Okay, so right now on this project, if I was for Canal, as I was just running with all my takeoffs and not ready for reviewing with anyone, there was no real benefit to put it up there, except for like at the end of the day. So I most likely I'd just keep things checked out for like a few days.
You're working on your own set of documents.
Because it's just faster with the computers that I get and the network to work locally. And then when I came to a head, I basically threw it up in a session, threw it up in a project, which I'll show you, that I just threw everything up that I've been working on, including the Excel dumps that including all the Excel documents. Even when I'm working on something with someone else, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be this PowerPoint. I could throw it back up just to save it there and whatnot. So eventually, when I was ready to start going through reviews, I absolutely started leveraging the cloud, because then I could even, what we end up finding is a really successful thing is to take your files, work on them, throw them up, check them back out, and then anyone can just look at that current instance of it. So then I'd set up some pivot tables and give them what they needed to, so then they could go run, oh, here's all, I'm done with the installation, here, I did it, go. While I'm going to keep doing my other thing, and then I'll run back and then keep updating it. So if,
is your estimating department, is everyone in Studio, or you're just the one? Like,
He's in projects.
right now, everyone is working in everyone right now is working in islands because of how we're really absorbing as much as we can to try to.
I just want for context.
Yep. But yeah, so you could actually go through the revision history and then see how we move things, and we move them around, so that kind of cuts things out. But as I was getting into this power plant job, I realized that there's a lot of things here. And I have learned some other techniques since this job, but basically what I leveraged was being able to do visual search into count tools, because there is a lot of repetitive drawings here that is the same.
Can you show us visual search?
Mm-hmm. So basically, all of these items were on the same drawings all over the place, but how is the most effective way to go and get all of the parametric data that's attached to them into the level that I needed? Well, actually, from Ethan's presentation, as you can kind of see, I started using spaces. Well, spaces kind of helps me because, like I said, we started doing 3D modeling on this job. So, all in the beginning here, the estimators were only responsible for what we identified as red because it was above ground. Everything else that was below ground, the more critical stuff, that's when we started doing a 3D modeling. So initially, I still have a boatload of valves up. I have a boatload of different fittings. I have a whole bunch of different things that aren't even in my scopes. So now, first what I did is run around, throw spaces out. He uses them to track on punch lists for like the last thing on the job. Imagine if I set them up, you don't have to. So the earlier you get these things done, the earlier then you can throw them back into your session, let everyone pull them down from studio rather, and now they're just using markups. Obviously, I'm the only one really managing these CNIDs. Once I did that, I then started running with visual search. So what I'll do is I'll actually show you a visual search right now. So basically, if I kind of hide all so you can search with OCR, just search like 1 inch. What's that going to get you? That's not going to get you anything. But with visual, you can actually search a rectangle. So what I do is I go through, find this rectangle. Now you see it shows you a little box. I'll just do this current page so they don't go crazy. And you do have to be cognizant of the sensitivity, because again, right now these are pretty good drawings. They're vector art. They don't have to go crazy. But playing with this will absolutely change your results. So be cognizant of that. So basically, as you would search this, again, sweet time.
On the bottom of the screen, you'll see it's actually calculating the time.
Yeah, down here it's at 45%. So basically, what it's doing is basically running like an OCR against the vector art. So what it will do is it'll actually run it against everywhere and every rotation. You can actually do it by color as well. So if you were to identify things already by color and then you want to search by that, you can. I would just probably use markup to do it. But once you get this, actually you can come back with anything. Oh, it actually hasn't spit it out yet.
No, this is your
Yeah. Oh, let's change it a little bit. Dude, I still only have too many things up on showing this. I promise it works. Basically, that's how I started. So I figured out my workflow by first identifying what do I need to do. All right, first I figured out are they manual valves or the actuator valves? Or how else do I have to look at? I do have to care about if they're fuel oil because those are specialty items. I did. So what I started doing here is I'd run through, and first, these are all butterfly valves, right? So what I could do is take all of them, right? I just Control-A, or you can actually use this to check all. And then what you can do is you can right-click and apply a count measurement, right? What I did is I developed, I can't show you them, unfortunately. HR wouldn't, I'm not a legal department, wouldn't let you show you too much. But what you do is first set up what items you need to take off, make tools for them, right? Apply your count measurements to them, and now all you do is once you do the visual, apply your count measurements, and now you have the first level of data applied to those markups.
So now when you're saying tools, you're talking about this stuff right here, the blues and the reds. And
right, so you could identify them, let's call them doors, right? But now, what type of door? You can go back and now you're searching through your markups to find doors. So what I'll do now, show you guys. Yes. Yes, we do share our naming conventions because at this point, once I have now done a mechanical job of this nature and developed the tool sets as a subject matter lead for doing them, it's now I share them and we develop feedback and we make them better. So what I can show you is a tool set that I have for. So when you do piping, like real piping, not just a valve, this is a tool set that everyone uses. Pretty rudimentary. It's not everything you need. It's work activity method piping. That's it. So I'm not going to go into every single thing, but basically with this type of estimating for pipe, you would be able to go and just classify it as pipe, and that's what it is. And now you add whatever other corresponding information you need. So I can open a different product to show you how the work activity method works if we have enough time. But basically what I wanted to show you with this example of PNIDs is that for this job, what I need to do to be able to analyze all of the valves and all of the specials on this job, I had to add all of this information to every markup, get it how I needed to price the job in accordance with how I was getting the data from my engineer. So basically, I first started by figuring out what they were. Then I would apply a unit system code that was based off of different names, such as right here you see it CWC. That's cold water circulation. So basically, I would tag 3 CWC. Even more though, what I did to make sure that I was making everything right, is I did a lot of the setup first. So then when I was ready to go and start applying these things, it was easy to validate what I had to apply. So what this is showing you here, and this is kind of getting, yes.
I'm just going to jump in here and kind of make sure everybody's with you. So,
Told you might lose one.
No, you're good. Okay, so has everyone been aware of this markup list? If you have, maybe you haven't. Okay, so this is, think of review like if AutoCAD, Adobe Acrobat, Excel, and Microsoft Paint had a baby.
No, I think Photoshop is better than Paint.
Photoshop, right? So the Excel part of the baby is this markup list. So what he's doing here is he's creating what's called custom columns. So Tim, if you can just click on your columns wheel here. So there's a bunch of columns that are built in within the software, but what he's done is he's created custom columns. Maybe click on the wheel. Yeah, so he's created custom columns. And so you can do that just in the same way you can kind of create custom. It's even more than Excel in this case. You can kind of build in your own little database. So he's done that like to the power of 12. And he's allowing you to, for every markup now he's placed on the document, allowing you to add data to that. And so
exactly, that's what I meant. Right? So so basically, first thing what I identified is, all right, how many ball valves do I have? Do I care what size they are? Go find the largest one. They're all that size. Because it's actually better to start bigger and get more refined. So what I do is I run through this, and first there are ball valves. Then I started adding all of this other information. So like Terry was saying, the spaces, drive who's responsible for them automatically. So once I set that up, never have to do that again. Okay, cool. So the unit system, that's pretty straightforward off of the file name. So it wasn't too hard. There's probably a more automated way to do that. Once I did that, then I'm starting to actually worry about things. So now if I only looked at CWC system, now I'm only looking at the valves for that system. Now it's pretty easy to just look at, I'm only on like one page, I think. Yeah, there's only a few pages that these are found on. And once I started applying all this, I'm missing one column that makes So now I started adding glow valve, the space automatically, the system code. But the real method that I had to actually analyze these valves, I'll show you my Excel sheet, which might make people go insane, by the way. But so this is actually the real dump. I mean, I obviously can't tell everyone, explain how to price an entire power plant right now, but this is actually the real dump from all the CSVs that were developed from everything. And now this is like my pride and joy, because once you actually set up the tools, the naming conventions, you can start running with these takeoffs to the point that the valving, as I needed it, instead of trying to break my computer with this screen. It was not anything I've ever seen before, to say the least, right? So how the engineers specified the valves was they used a commodity code. That commodity code was driven off of what spec it was, what diameter it was, and the pressure rating of the pipe. So that's what I'm trying to get at, is that I needed a lot of data to understand what that one glow valve even meant. Because just because I have glow valves, I have like 16 different types of glow valves. Open Excel. Yeah, it didn't know. So the only way that the engineer gave me the data was in a table similar like this, right? So they gave me these commodity codes. So now for those ball valves, I had to align them against commodity codes, which any other piping system I've ever used, I couldn't specify different commodity codes, which is parametric or just additional data within one type of ball valve. So the typical piping software that we would use is Port Express. It would allow me to do regular types of takeoffs, but not stuff like this. So this is something that like my team normally doesn't know how to really volley. So once we found out that we could add any type of information we need, basically that's what we were able to do. So I'd be able to go and get these ball valves and apply all of this information. This is just a static dump from a pivot table that I pulled from the CSV file. You guys got that?
Can you show how you data dump that?
Yep.
From your
Hold on, I have things hidden, that's why. You guys like a lot of charts? Is that it?
I'm getting that.
Okay, so this is actually the Excel dump of just the valve, right? So all it is just a comma-separated file of the markups, and then Control A, go to Insert, click Pivot Table. Okay. I don't like anything in A, so that's just like a pet peeve of mine. Move it over. What is Excel hates me right now? And now all that data, does everyone use pivot tables? No? Okay, so I'm going to blow your mind. All right, so what you're going to do is these are all of the columns of information. Doing the markups and using the filters in Bluebeam, it works. But when you throw 7,000 markups with 12 lines of information in, it bogs down. You break it, right? So I don't really play with them in there too much until I need to go find something and fix it. So what I'll do is I'll come in here, dump it just like I always showed you, pull it into a pivot table, and now these are all of those columns of information. So basically I can pull them into any one of these areas. So I can then take, say for instance, unit system code. Now I can take my label, wherever it is, and one word, don't dump every column. You don't need them. So when you dump the CSV, you can pick which columns you need. Don't dump all of them, because obviously, as you see, it's like kind of annoying just to find what you need. But now, if I were to take diameter, now those are all the diameters under each one of those system codes. Go back, find my count, pull my count in. So now I know right now that I've got 525 valves on the job. And now, as you then start adding additional information, you can pull whatever you need. So now if I go back to space.
how do you get the information there?
Good question. What we'll do, you go summary, CSV. All right, so now this lets you dump every markup that's in the job. All right. And again, that works for the one file you're in. Once you start leveraging sets and break everything apart, you go File, Batch, Summary, and I wasn't even aware how powerful this is. This is crazy. This is insane. Because once you add a file, so if I open current files, so everything in here, now this is like looking at also isometric drawings, which I also did a takeoff on. It'll look at whatever files you want. You can go grab 5,000 files and now pull all the markups together into one Excel file. So then from here, this is all of the possible things you could pull through. So I could go through and turn off different things. This is each page number. I don't really know that. I don't really use lock. Check mark is just a status you can apply. So basically, you can go through and select what items you need here. That'll then dump this, and it's just like this. Right? Without the filter that I applied to it. So it'll actually probably look more like this. It'll just be a whole bunch of data that's just in weird columns, right? So that's when you do Control A and you dump it into a pivot table and you start manipulating the data how you need. And like I was trying to say, is that I actually had to apply these codes before the sizing and then apply what type of ends they were, if they had actuators or not, because there was actuated valves on this job as well. I also had to break out ones that were furnished by other people. I had to break out ones of the fuel gas. And this really wasn't just because I needed to. It was that at this stage in the game on a design-build job with the power plant, the owner demanded at this point basically an open book evaluation on everything. So what we eventually had to do is I showed you this huge labor book. Right, this is all of the piping. This is everything. This is just insane. It goes to ED, and it's just massive. It takes insane time to just explain this. This is eventually the format we had to give the quantities into when we gave it to the owner. So basically, all of that work we had to get into a specific format. And now, think of this. You have this format of aqueous ammonia, double wall HDPE. At big time, we had no quantities because we didn't design it like that. Now we go through June 1 read quantities. Wait, well, we have 353 feet of it now. What happened? Well, you have to go back and look at where everything was. So basically, what I'm trying to get across is that data shifted, but we still have to maintain conformity to the owner, because the owner is not, if I try to open a sheet like this, even you guys are like, what the hell is it? Imagine if you're an owner and you're like, I build power plants. I don't know what I'm actually doing. I just, put money out there and buy these things. I'm not a contractor. If you try to open something like this, you'd be getting slaughtered. You'd be up against the firing squad because they looked at every single thing. So trying to dumb it down into the format they needed, it was quite a process that typically is very cumbersome. But quite frankly, with being able to use Bluebeam, I was able to actually build it. So I'm going to jump off this project to show you some other things because I kind of just been rambling on this one. Once I did the visual search on these things, I could then do the same thing on another set of drawings for the isometric. And again, I had 66 drawings that all I had to do was search for like circles, apply if they were soccer welds, batch flip sheet out what page they were, go back, look at each page to see what diameter piping they were. If they were all 8-inch pipes on the bill of material, they're all 8-inch, boom.
Can you do me a favor? Can you go back to the visual search and just show them how to highlight and check out a legend? So I feel like this is way what
whatever you want. Gotcha. I will jump.
How many were familiar with visual search before?
Yeah, I should have queried the audience.
Okay. Yeah. So in general, the search, what you went up and you can get the search by just clicking Control F, the same way you would search within any other program, or on the internet or whatever. Control F will bring up a panel with these little binoculars, and from there you can search if you contract, you can search for certain specific contractual terms like words in the contract and the document and it's searchable. Or, and you see this most frequently in the case of takeoff, if you're looking for a particular symbol, that will allow you to search for a symbol.
You got tools to do that?
Visual search. So like he showed you, you identify a certain rectangle on the drawing, you draw a rectangle around the symbol you want to search for, then you click search, and it will give you the results of all of that.
Okay, so yeah, I got a cool one for you. So this is from the Extreme Conference. So I don't take too much credit. Actually, I don't take any credit. You guys can give me credit though. All right, so I'm gonna do Control F, do a rectangle. Actually, hold on, let me do this first. So they gave this little count guy to kind of show you that you can use anything, right? So they just took a snapshot, pasted in. You can right click, add to tool chest. Let me turn on my tools first. All right, turn on my tools because then that's just like a bucket to place things. Right click, apply to tool chest, my tools. Now you got this little count dude, right? So you can just throw him down wherever. Or you can actually right click and create count. Now they make another one, and now as you put this guy down, it's going to quantify as a count, right? So now you're going to get
midway down.
Okay. There you go. So now you're counting with that, right? So now this is that visual search. So basically, what do you guys want to take off? It's the toilet. We'll take the toilet. Toilet search. We'll do get rectangle. Grab the circle. You have to be cognizant of exactly what you grab, because if I grab that bar, it may not work. It'll only grab the ones that it sees bars on. So we'll go back a little bit, right? So then what we'll do is we'll go current. Let's just do current page, right? And search. Now it found all the toilets for me. Control A, apply count, and now because I have my tools up there, there's that count tool. Now it's automatically going to fill all those counts out, right? There was a actual pretty cool thing that I learned at Extreme Conference that I'm now trying to apply, because you guys like saw those P&ID drawings and you were like, what the? You got circles, you got blues, you got this. I'm learning, all right? Give me a break. So what I learned at the Extreme Conference was pretty sweet. So I'm going to share it with you guys. So what I could do is press G. All right. If you don't have that blue beam mouse pad, get it.
Oh, yeah, with all the tips and tricks on it.
Yeah. Right. None of me. Right. So it's pretty cool. All right. So all I did was press G, which gets you a snapshot tool. It's basically like a snippet tool in Bluebeam. So now I have on my copy palette a picture of that toilet. I paste that toilet. Now I right click, and then what I can do is I can go and add it to my, change colors, right? So now I'm going to change the black to red. You guys see what I'm going to do? Add it to my tool chest. Good, count tool. Delete this. And now all my toilets are taken off, and all they are is, I mean, you can take the whole thing too. Grab all of them, move them over, get them on top, you know, or you can grab all of them by selecting all of them, move them over if they're not perfect, if you're really that OCD. But with taking out vowels and whatnot, now it's just like, it's the same page, it's not cluttered up, it's not crazy, it's much easier. So that's definitely, oh, and you want to just be a legend?
Yeah, please.
So basically, you can right-click on these, and you can do a legend, create a legend, and then you can dump that bad boy right up top here. And I call those things all brass for whatever reason. Well, you just go in and rename them. But there's big capabilities with these legends if you just play with these table styles and where you get your data from. Because right now, I only have it on the current page, but if I were to go and have takeoffs on a whole bunch of different pages, you could go and use this right here to then make a legend on the entire plumbing set for the whole scope, right? So you can very easily give all the information to whomever needs it very easily. And you can basically go back and add in any type of columns you'd like to it as well. So as you go through, right now I have just brass in there, but you can go in and add additional metrics or whatever information you want to break out your scope. So we haven't really used legends too much because I just dump everything into Excel and run with it because it's not a full estimating software. But that's basically how we do the legends. And let me jump back to what I wanted to show.
Legend is also a line update, so if you do more with that same tool as part of the legend, it will update that legend.
Right, so if you right click and grab resume count, start filling them down, it's now updating automatically for you. And you can do that in Northeast Community Training Day. They were actually not even just doing that. They were showing how you can then set statuses on things, throw his legend up, and now once you have your 30 toilets in, great. Now what about the installation status of all of them? Check it out every day, change that status, check it back in, and now you have, from your takeoff, now you have something that's quantifying and tracking every installation if you have those statuses set up. And that's something that, you know, everyone can run with in different ways because whether you can usually use that in you, but I mean, it's definitely, we've started to use it, and it's incredibly easy to be able to develop reports off of it, because as I showed you that batch summary tool, if you were to go and tell everyone that by 8 o'clock you have to check your files, change your statuses of installation, check them back in, and now management at 8:01 can then run a report against everything. They can get daily field statuses of everything as long as the quantities reflect what actually was installed.
Can you apply that legend to, like, if you have 10 drawings in one PDF?
Yeah.
You right-click a file?
Yeah.
So if they,
All right, so I'm actually just going to go through my top 10 because as I kind of figured, I just kind of talk and tell you guys a whole bunch of tricks. The first thing that I'd like to tell you guys is use Control and Shift whenever you need. Control helps you just copy things. So if I just grab this count guy, I can just hold Control and just use it as just pasting it all over. In a similar manner, if you hold Shift, he only moves in like lines. So you see he only moves in 90 degrees. The same thing with drawing lines. You can only do that. I just showed you guys the easy, simple, customized snapshot tools. You use alignment settings for spacing. So all of these guys, they're kind of like ugly, right? So you can take them in alignment, and then there's all these different alignment things. So what you could do is you could do like distribute horizontally, distribute vertically, whatever it may be. But for here, you probably want to do alignment up, and now they're all in rows. So if you were to go and just have items all over the place that should be really in line, you can just run with plopping as long as they're somewhat organized, and then align them so then it doesn't bother you. The visual searching count I just showed you guys, applying markups to all pages. One thing that I'll do before I'll do my auto mark, before I set up a set, is this is in the drawing. Let me open this drawing. And I'll get to this. This is probably what's going to blow everyone's mind, so wait. Markup, let's draw a rectangle. So before I'll go and check, one problem that we'll get is that we'll get the drawings really, like I said, really bad from DET or MTA or whoever it is. And sometimes if I were to just take this drawing and put a box around it, you would imagine that if you're going to do an auto mark, that's where it's going to look all the way through, and it will. But now, say you have 300 pages, and you draw this box, right-click to it. You can apply it. Oh, I only have one page here, but you can apply it to all pages. So then what I'll do is before I really do anything, throw a box down as big as I think that the auto mark needs to be, let it run through all the pages, and then flip through as many pages as I can to see, kind of understand how the documents have moved, because they most likely scan them in, like cut the page edges, rotate them a little bit just to be annoying. Because that's what always happens is we get drawings that are different sizes, we get drawings that are rotated, and what that'll help me do is try to find the best way to throw auto marks down. So I'll throw, like, if it's 300 pages, 500 pages, Cambridge was 1,500 pages, they were all over the place. But if I looked at each discipline, what did that do to the drawing? How did that work? And that's how I typically will do it, is I'll try to throw auto marks per discipline.
And another tip is if you need to drop the same markup on the same exact location on different pages, you Control Copy and then Shift Control Paste, and it'll drop it in the same exact location.
Yeah, that's like a Photoshop.
Yeah, it's like a Photoshop.
All right, so you can also group markups to build things, right? You can group markups to build assemblies. So imagine if you have okay, so now which one was that? That was 6. So now what I can also do is I do the visual alignment, the group markups. That was that one. Undock and move panels. One thing that I'll show you guys that I definitely use a lot, like I kind of started with, is customize this however you need. I definitely suggest everyone, if you do anything with 2 screens at your desk and you have a laptop, buy one of these. It's $150 and it's just a second monitor, right? That just makes your productivity go through the roof. If you have one monitor, get 2, at least. Because what I'll do is I'm kind of like lost and kind of like driving all over the place because this is not how I use reviews like at all. I'll take these tools and just drag them out and put them on like I have 4 monitors. So I look like a monster when I'm at work. Everyone just leaves me alone because it's just like you look like that, you know, the guy from what is it, Grandma's Boy? That's literally me. Cause it's just like I need all that space because it's just easier to have everything. So what I'll do is I'll pull these tools out, and you can even do things like this. Like, what is that? You can now stack your thing. Like, you can stack things on stacking on your things on stacking on your things. So I mean, you can go crazy with what you do with this. So what I definitely suggest everyone do is play with that. I take my my markups and I pull that off, and then I'll take my settings and I'll put that somewhere else because all of that data you need to try to get to quickly and view. I like being able to see everything. I like she said, it's like I like being the pilot and having every knob, you know, and that's just how I operate.
About 5 minutes, and then I want to open up for questions.
Okay, so I'm going to blow everyone's mind now with one last thing. So you guys have seen Quantity Link, or how many of you know what Quantity Link is? Oh, gosh, this is going to be great. Okay, so there's a lot to get your teams to this stage. Always back at the as you see.
I just wanted to just take a moment. What you're seeing that Tim has, that is, when you're seeing him pick his different toolboxes, this is a really crucial part, just like the Markup List, of doing takeoff effectively in review. It's kind of like when you shop at Trader Joe's in New York, if you're not shopping while you're in line, if you're doing it wrong. It's kind of like using your toolbox or not using your toolbox in review. If you're not using your toolbox, you're doing it wrong, especially with regard to takeoff. So when you go back, Tim, if I can tell you to your toolboxes,
I'm going to try to find
you're going to see that he set up all these custom toolboxes, and that means that those can be shared amongst your team. So it's a really crucial part of using the software that you've set up things. So you'll see here, he's got a concrete toolbox where all these things are already set up. So you shouldn't be going back to that measurement tool and dropping a volume markup every time. You should be pulling from a list of pre-made things. And really one or two, a group of people should be making notes, and those should be shared amongst the team. So this is really, really important to have consistency, so when he pulls up that little Excel list at the bottom, or does what he's about to do now when he pulls this data directly into Excel, there's a consistency in the subject, in the label, in the way that it looks, and that allows you to have both visual standards within your organization, but also like data standards within your organization of how you're going to have it. Do you have any questions on that, specifically tool set?
Same thing for like labeling. You're trying to label annotations, the same things you do on drawing. Should that be coming from one layer?
From one tool set? That's kind of what we see as a little bit more of a preference. The question was, if should when you're just adding miscellaneous markups, like if you're reviewing shop drawings or whatever, right? Should there be a consistency in the way that looks?
Well, I'll interject because that's something that I'm pushing for right now with developing all these tool sets. One thing that we're doing is I made these CSI discipline tools, right? And now, let me just move these over first. Right? So what I did with those, that's really just to throw down some scope. So when we do a drawing flip, we'll go through every single page on a job. And we'll go through, and as we just simply go through, I'll just start tagging where metals is, wherever, right? And then from there, you can just go down, and now your markups down here in subjects, you'll have those metals tagged. So you can rename this to meet what you need, and you can call this all Joe and Tom and whatever you need, and now you just are starting to add whatever you need. And I mean, the possibilities are endless. We did something recently that we started importing all of the way that we solicited our bids even. So let me show you how you do that. So these are just different cost codes or CSI codes that are within these divisions, right? So now we do first day, right? We do first day drawing flip. Come on. Over there now. All right, we do first day drawing flip, and now we've identified that there's metal on our job. Who would have thought, right? And now, what type of metal do you need? Well, with custom columns, I do also have a 3D PDF open in the background I was going to try to get to, but come on. What this will do is once I hit this button with my computer, come on.
Circle's got it.
Yeah, circle's going.
Close out your Excel too.
It's definitely these computers. But use Bluebeam as a catalyst for change with your technology department. Because at this point, I have like 80% of the pre-construction group rolled out, but then I have like the really old people, that their computers just are bogged down with so much stuff that they try to use, it just fails. But it's like everyone else is using it with great efficiency, so what are we going to do? You're going to buy Microsoft Pro tablets for everyone, right? It's not that easy, but yeah, so to use this as a catalyst to change, because yeah, you definitely need better computers than,
Okay, so I think we're going to show quantity link, and then we'll start taking some questions.
Yeah, once I get this open, because yeah, basically what I'm going to show is once you set up those tools, right, that naming convention is then standardized. You can go into Excel. You can go into Excel, run these concrete tables, right, before this opens, so, right. And now, that file that I have, right, what that means is that you can go into Excel, open quantity link, create, right? So what I do is then create, and you can pull in a length, right? You have to first change the source file, and that's why I have a problem right now. Let me do something first, hold on. Open this in new regular Excel. Because this one's linked already. Once you have it linked, the real key is that once you have it linked, all you have to ever do is then relink it. That's it. So what I'm going to show you, once it's actually going to play nice and fun, I'll just show you the resource file then. So basically, I already set this up. I already set the quantity links up to those tools. So now all I need to do is go in and add the files that I wanted to then reference. So here's that file that's open. Right now there's a few numbers in here because it pulled some old data. But once I relink it to this page, or this file, it's going to throw all that data down, right? Ta-da! Right, so now, if I run back to this file, yes, right, so there is a specific waterfall of developing the tool. Well, first you make the tool, right? Go to the right-hand side to make the tool. Then you pull it into a tool chest. Once you put it in a tool chest and you use it, it pulls into a markup list. Once it hits that markup list, save the PDF once, right? So now, that's just my practice. Once you save the PDF once, run to your bid sheet and start making it. So I showed you guys that simple one with the WAM piping, right? And you can start adding 8-inch and 10-inch and all that extra information, but simplicity is key when you're starting this out. So what I did is I made 10 different items. Height, 90 degrees, 45. I added custom columns for those items so they not just quantify as a count against the item, but against different columns because of how I have to use the information typically. So kind of like as you make something coming down, you could have then corresponding columns so when they hit counting out. And again, that's just how estimators have to use it. Everyone may not use that. But once you have all those things set up and you're using the markups list, you can just run into Excel. As the WAM went open.
So what Tim showed earlier was you data dumped it from Excel into a CSV file, right? And you saw how we need it to the table. So where quantity link, it's just been out since March, but the logic behind it from the software development standpoint is that we were seeing a lot of customers doing a lot of their sort of heavy-duty estimating work in Excel. So they needed review to actually take the measurement off of the plan, but they used Excel. They were data dumping and bringing it down to Excel, data template file that they are using. So the logic behind this is sort of connecting those two pieces together so that you can pull information out of Excel and have it automatically update as opposed to it just being like a one-time data dump. So there's like, without question, there's a good amount of setup involved, and there's a good amount of standardization that you need to have in order to have this be effective and just work. Forget about being effective. But there can be a lot of downstream if you're doing sort of takeoff after takeoff. If you're on a job and you're doing change order after change order, and you've got your change order template, and you're just looking for takeoff values, this can be pretty cool. So it would just be like you would save the Excel file. You would save the previous Excel file. I mean, I don't know if you noticed just right when Tim opened that file, it asked you if you wanted to update. So once you click that button, like what was once there it is going to automatically pull in. So you would want to save that.
Yeah.
Oh, how would you save the previous file? So you would probably, I think, I don't know if you have a better idea, but I think you would save the Excel file and you would save the version of the file.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be pulling from that. So the second you actually change the PDF, it's going to be Excel.
Yeah, so if you had Excel and the PDF open and you started adding more, found more toilets, you'll go over to your toilets column and say you found toilets automatically. So yeah, you'll want to use those for Excel.
Yeah, in terms of revision. That's a good question. Yeah.
The thing that I really like about it is if you do one thing every day, you do concrete takeoff every day, you got this concrete Excel, file that's already set up. It matches the column, so as long as you're consistent every time you place those tools in review, and you make that link, boom, it just automatically dumps in because you're saying, I want it off these files. Tomorrow I want it off another set of files. So.
And it definitely helps expedite being able to review things. So that's why this file right here is the most primitive data dump I could have. That's just a quantity link to those tools. And like I said, you can then take this item and delete this out. But if you go into this and play into the management of it, you can change what it pulls through. So right now, it's pulling through to what file, right? It's pulling what quantity. And you can change all this stuff. You can go in and edit what these things are and what they're doing. So this is pulling through the 90 counts that have a 1 in that column for me. So like, it's really, you just need to start. You're just going to start playing with it and see what you can do. Because like I was showing you with, doing just those number 5 metals, well, then I have the 20 types of solicitations for metal work that we can then, 2 days after a drawing flip, I've identified potential scopes that I'm now going to an MWBE list and going to all of the metal guys that do cold form steel and whatever, and I'm getting it within 2 days. They have some sort of scope. So I would have run around and just take all those markups that I do and not use them for measurements and give them measurements, but I just go and highlight anything. So one of the big powers in Boolean is you can name anything to be anything. You can draw a circle and say it's a line. You could draw whatever and rename anything. So that's where it's like, okay, I took all of those comments. Now I added the column for whatever you want and have that, and now you can use that to then, get things out the door. The last thing I wanted to show you guys is something that I'm kind of pushing for development on. It's dashboards. Dashboards are huge, and they're fun, and they're cool, especially if you have rendering. So what this one does for us is, this is a design build job that's coming out soon. So basically what there is for us is a lot of documents to go through, and there's really not real drawings. Right now we have 30% drawings on this job, right? So I'll show you what that means. Is the demolition drawings, right? I put all in a set. I have to open this first. Or is this not working right now for some reason? Which is nice. So basically what this does, it's basically like a bounce board out of a PDF, like a website almost, that I just made this out of simple shapes and circles and stuff and took some images. And then I attached actions to each one of these buttons. By doing that, you don't really do much. Let me, why does this work? There we go. So now, by simple click of one button, right, There's obviously a lot of setup involved in doing this, with pulling everything out of individual pages, pulling everything back into the set, figuring out what the file names are. And now, as you see, what it's doing right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, is it's looking at the server, downloading an instance on my machine, but it's keeping them as read-only, right? So what that means is it's opening an instance, I'm downloading an instance of every drawing that's on the server to my machine, allowing me to then navigate all of the files that are in this set as if they're one file, right? So as you see, it's taken its sweet time to open the running repair shop drawing, but what this allows us to do is now, when the 60% drawings come out, I can then do the same document control process of pulling them into individual pages, tagging them, doing my magic, putting them going as individual pages again, tagged as 60%, do batch split sheets, put them in front of the old pages, reset up my set, and now I do that one time. So now when I say, hey team, we got addendum 15, I went through it, it took me an hour, no one else had to do it. This is where the latest drawings are by this button. All you have to do is come back and hit that button or resync your profile. Now that really takes gravity to the field, because their drawings change a lot more than ours do. Now it does update them. So what this will do, once it finally updates everything, now I have the same copy of the file that's over in Studio, right? What that lets you do is then check it out, do your markups, check it back in, it updates the server copy, and now anyone can then go grab that file and run with it as well. So
it doesn't necessarily need to be in Studio. You can hyperlink it. You can hyperlink it as well. So like if anybody uses Box, like we use Box, you can use a hyperlink from your Box account and put the same thing.
And then lastly, what else you can do with these bounce splits? Those actions, there's a lot of actions in here. So while this tries to open, you can do a lot of different things. Jump to different pages, jump to different sections, jump to different places, jump to snapshots within. If you have like a section view you want to jump to, you can do that. You can jump right to a hyperlink, so you can make emails. Hey, send me an email by pressing this button, and you can send out things so people can easily return them to you. You can also then open other files. So I do that a lot. So actually, what this one does is with our bid solicitation platform, I can click one button, and now it gets us to where we are with all our bids. Or senior management that wants to see where we are with all of our development of bid packages. Once it opens, I can click that, and it'll open a web tab within this. So now I don't even have to leave Bluebeam to go look at the the bid packages that are out there.
So question.
Yeah, of course.
You open the internet within Bluebeam?
Yeah, so if you do, I think it's with a T. What is it? W. And I forget I need that mouse pad. But yeah, you can open a web tab within Bluebeam. It does not like every website, so it's not like go do like complex things. But yeah, you can go on the internet with it.
The more simple question, do you know if there's a way to automatically calibrate 20 PDFs in one? 20 pages in one PDF, automatic calibrate?
Are they all the same size? Are they all the same?
They're all different sizes.
Each page?
Yeah.
No, auto calibrate. No, I wouldn't. Personally, I wouldn't even trust it. It's like that's one of the first things I do is double check everything.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll get half-size drawings and flipped in even. So it's like definitely take the time to do it for each page.
Have you ever gone through and just reference what you're doing? It's a 2-inch valve. You go through and what reference method exists. You went through manually and got forms for 2-inch valves or where they existed, and then you realized after you went through all of your drawings that there's 4-inch valve. How do you just change that in the markup column? I feel like when I do it, I always run into issues where it doesn't update in the legend, or if I update
there's definitely a problem I've seen with using the quantity in a custom column, because it gives you the little buttons, and if I throw a number in there, sometimes it doesn't register it. So there's definitely that. And then mass renaming things is a pain in the neck. And if you make errors in the beginning, sometimes you will pay dividends. And one thing that Blake said that I took from his presentation, he did a presentation at Extreme Conference on batch automation, is that with all these tools, I forget the phrase, I don't know if you want to drop it. You have to say it like a grandfather.
Great responsibility.
There it is.
So if you do something in batch, just know this with batch, there are some times when you use the batch feature that it's going to do exactly what you think it will. Other times, it's not opening the files. You never see the files open on the screen. You're just saying, hey, I want to affect all of these files. I want to hyperlink all these files, or I want to do some other batch feature. It's going to do it in the background. So you really want to play with it and see what you want to accomplish, because if you do a batch process, it's really hard to undo the batch process. So, for instance, with hyperlinking, if you hyperlink the entire drawing set and then you realize you wanted to make everything blue that was hyperlinked instead of yellow, going back and changing all of that is more difficult than having just done it right the first time. So with great power comes great responsibility, and batch gives you a lot of responsibility.
Especially if you try doing anything like page resizing, good luck. Because I have not had great success doing page resizing. I don't know if it's personal, I don't have the training to get it right, but it's a pain in the neck. And also something, I don't know if Blake, you can fix this. When you reduce page content sometimes, or OCR sometimes, you just will throw a random page in, not rotating 9 degrees. So it doesn't finish the OCR process of like OCRing, rotating the page. I don't know what it is, but it'll just randomly throw pages like vertically. So definitely check that, because yeah, that'll absolutely mess with trying to do watermarks and anything.
I think a lot of what Tim's talking about is, I'm getting out of that, is the quality of the file that you get. A lot of this, this is just a PDF. It's not a Revit model. It's not a smart document, really. It's just a PDF. So if you're getting, PDF that's kind of crap in, crap out, if you have a poor quality PDF that's not a vector-based PDF, it's rasterized, well, it's going to make your life really difficult. So thinking on that beginning of the project, and a lot what we try to do in the bug events is to get architects and engineers and construction professionals and specialty contractors to talk, so everybody kind of knows each other's job and goes, oh, I see where the architect could care less about that because it doesn't affect him. It only affects me and my role. So if you can have those conversations really far up front at the beginning of a project and try to get some of those PDF standards figured out and naming conventions, it's going to make your life so much easier down the road, especially on those big projects. Any other questions for Tim?
Last thing, I promise. Does everyone know what this little paint bucket does? Anyone know what this paint bucket does? Okay, I'm going to show. When they open the file from Extreme Conference, though,
Show with me.
Shut up, you love it. Which one was it? You guys noticed I took an avoiding cognitive overload while teaching review? Didn't work. There we go. Alright, so imagine, let me find a complex shape. Imagine this area in here. You want to go and this whole baggage area, right? So you wanted to go and you'd have to take off all this area, get into all these nooks and crannies and stuff. It's doable, right? You just have to click like a whole bunch. Go to dynamic fill. What dynamic fill allows you to do is kind of have like an unlimited bucket of paint, right? That you got like a fire hose of paint connected to your bucket hose, and I'll just show you kind of what it allows you to do. You can create different things at one time though. So you can first create different spaces, like I was showing you, of automatically naming things when they land in within those spaces. So we'll just call this space. Right, I can't spell. Right. You can apply a polygon around it, which I do, and then I flatten it afterwards, just kind of really make it look good and then kill it. I'll add different area measurements, and right now I just throw an area one on. Some polylengths around the outside default measurement. Maybe it's like, the trim or something. Now you can do a perimeter, same difference, and now we can do a volume. It's going to be a volume. And now all I got to do is go into this cogwheel, and there's also some settings here, boundary size. you can set a boundary to where the paint will go if the wall isn't there. So right now, I'm talking about trying to hit these walls. So I'm not really going to be too concerned about the boundaries, but I will change the fill size just because I'm doing a big area. So you see the little circle that I got there? That's going to change how big that brush is, right? And it's going to change the speed. So let's just knock the speed here. So now, what I'm going to do here, give myself a little more space, is, oh no, I started pouring my bucket, right? And now as you see, it kind of fills everything. That's obviously not what I wanted. So Control Z. Go back, find that boundary. Boundary will be this snap line right here, right? So now I poured that. Take this. It's like almost therapeutic almost to just like, I love doing like concrete takeoffs, man. It's fun. It's like, so like when you see us, it's like smiling now because you're like, like displaying it. And not for nothing, this was a hack to winning this competition challenge, wasn't it? Yep. No one got that. Really? Why didn't you guys put me on the team?
Apply it. Everyone's waiting with bated breath.
Yep.
Okay, then what happened?
As you fill this through, all right, we'll just cut this at that wall. There is obviously a science to it to make sure that you're getting the areas that you want. Right, so now I got that wall snap there. Let's knock this down here. Right. You can apply those, and obviously I didn't finish the whole job. But now you have, okay, great. All these takeoffs for this one item, right? And you can also then go in and then turn on segment values. You can align them horizontally. You can show the centroid if you really care. And now, I just took off all the lines around that whole building for all the formwork. I took off all the concrete. I have tools to dump that into CSV files, or I'm sorry, into quantity links. So now, with dynamic fill, concrete's like, not simple, but it's simpler, right? And mechanically, I wish I could draw my pipes and like have them just like run through the whole thing. It doesn't work like that. But there definitely is some application of dynamic fill all over the place, but really expediting, doing intricate work, especially in the field when you're doing, stairs or anything of that nature. It's definitely.
There is one thing on that. If normally if you're doing an area measurement, review is finding the center of the line. So if you have a line this thick, it would find the center point of that line. When you're doing this, it's finding it to that wall barrier. So know if you did an area measurement and you were snapping the line, it might be a little bit different than using this tool because this tool is going to the edge of the line as opposed to the center of the line.
Yeah, so I got all of those different measurements out of that at the same time. So.
Cool. Anyone else? Awesome.
Thank you.